Welcome to the Celtic Craft Studio. I'm Terry, and today, as promised, we are going to work on these tiny journals. Tim Holtz inspired tiny journals. You do not need to use Tim Holtz things. If you have some Tim Holtz scraps sitting around, that's great, but there are other things you could use with this pattern. So let's kind of look at the little book that we're going to be working on. You can't really call this a journal. There's really no place to journal. It's more a fun, just look at it piece. But I just wanted to kind of look through and see. I have pockets going both ways. Remember, I said, too, that you have to be very careful if we're planning this out so that both sides are covered. So that, well, at least in my opinion, we don't want to be seeing a whole lot of white. All right, so there's pockets going two directions. We did a tuck here, and we used one of these slides as a tuck. See? Goes in and out. And then on the back we have this cute butterfly, which I think I will do on some of them. All right, so let's put that here for reference in case we need it. Last week we talked about the circle that I created in the piece. This is a 3x3 square that came off the back of one of Tim Holtz's older pads, 12 by 12 paper pads, and these happen to be the wallflower. I don't know if any of you still have some. I have very little left because I use them all the time. But these are from the wallflower, and so I went through my drawers to see if I had scraps, and I have a whole pile of these, which is good because I can use these for the pockets and the side tucks. So we created the whole, and then I said we were going to use 4 pages. Now these I already started in that I started creating pockets. So there's a pocket. This had a tuck. I was going to put a tuck there. Here's a tuck. I was going to put a bird on there. So I just kind of planned it out, and I'll show you why I planned it out, because when we go to tape, we want to tape and then glue on our pockets and things. One, that makes it doubly strong, and 2, if you wait and tape first and then put the pocket on, you'll have more room in your pocket, where if you glue the pocket on and then tape, it makes your pocket smaller. That makes sense? All right, so let's get started. Let's go ahead and create some pockets for this one. I did leave one. And, okay, let's get them going the right way here. All right, so this one I want you to see. So I may or may not put a pocket on that one. I did on this one. I could put it, and do I have that again? Sometimes I like to mimic what's on there. Let's see if we have another one like this. Let's look through our pile of stuff. Here, I do, right there. All right, so we could make a pocket out of this. And I think I'm going to need my cutter to cut it. Sometimes there's patterns on them and I can just cut the straight line, but I think just for our purposes we will use the chopper. All right, so I cut out this so that I can create a pocket to put right there, so that we're not getting rid of, because I like that part of it. So I will kind of eyeball it somewhere in the middle here. Once again, to ink or not to ink. I think I am, because I do see a little white, and I do want to accent it because it is going to be glued here, and I want you to see that it's a pocket. All right, I like that. This is a little longer, but that's okay because I'd like it that way, and I'm going to ink that. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to use my tiny paper clips instead of these huge paper clips. It just makes it easier. Put my lid where I won't lose it. All right, so we're going to put that on here. And then on the back, I think I'm going to put, like I did with the others, I kind of have a formula, and you can switch your formulas up or have a different thing for every book, but I'm kind of going with a formula here. It just makes it easier to mass make. You've heard the term, to make many of them. So sometimes it helps to have a formula so that your mass making goes quicker and you don't have to sit here and wonder what you're going to be doing. All right, I think I'm putting this one on as my tuck. All right, and that is the first page. So let's do that. And then, what did I do? Let me look. Oh, I did put a... What did I do on that side? Okay. Okay. So that's the back. I need something for here, and I'm going to put one of my slides. What did I do with my slide ladies? They're here. All right, which one do I want? I have these little ladies that I think you've seen me do these. I have these slides that I keep over here because I use them a lot. Let's see if I can get them down without knocking everything over. When I have scraps, I use my die and I cut a bunch of these slides in from different papers. And then I take some of the pictures that I have, and I don't just put them in there. I kind of put them cattywampus. Does that, you know that word, cattywampus? And then I staple. All right, and then I put them in, and I'm going to use this like a side tuck. And you know, I think I just saw her. I think she's going to go better with my colors. So I'm going to do that. We'll leave those two up there in case we need them for something. If you've been watching me a while, you know that I like to kind of spread stuff out. It does help with the thought process. All right, so I need something. Let's go ahead and put this on. I think I want a pocket. All right, so here we have a pocket, a tuck, a picture, a tuck, and a pocket. Okay. So I think I'm going to mimic that and use it as a corner pocket. Where I can tuck maybe a bird. This one I'm just going to eyeball because it does have lines to follow. And then keep this. You could use this for the pocket. In fact, I am going to cut it a little shorter following that line there. And I think I will use that as a pocket somewhere. All right, so I want to cut this off, and then maybe I'll angle it just so you know it's a pocket. All right. You've made enough pockets. You know how you want your pocket to look. All right, and once again, I am gonna do a little ink around the edge so that it pops. All right, see? Okay, so we've got that. And then this is our last that I will, what's the paper? Okay, we can either use the paper or use a different paper for a pocket. I could use that. But you know what I'm feeling? I'm feeling like maybe I should do a color that pops, and there's kind of a green theme going here. I don't know, what do you think? A green pocket there? I think I'm going to go with it. I think I'd rather have green than kind of a matchy-matchy. Are you yelling at me yet? No, I want the other one. I want the other one. Okay, and I'm going to do this side looks straight. The other side doesn't look so straight. And I want the pocket to be far enough down that you're seeing enough of that flower there. So I'm going to kind of make sure, hold it as tight as I can so it's not slipping on me. All right, so that's a pretty shallow pocket. That's okay. We don't need it to be super deep. But you can make them as deep as you want. I just want to make sure you can see a lot of that plant. So you may want deeper pockets. I'm putting in, you know, just tiny little things since it's a tiny book. All right, so let's go ahead and ink this. And then I've got this butterfly. I had to trim him down a little because he was hanging over and I didn't want him hanging over. This butterfly is going to go on the back, and I'll use one of the pins. I don't know if he does those pins anymore. I should look and see, but I have some pins left. And then you can hang. I'll show you when we do it. You can hang little ephemera from it. All right, so since this is the one we're working on, this is the one I think we will start to tape. Okay, so I have my pieces. I have my 4 pages. I just chose 4 because when you put it together, it is going to get a little fatter, okay, because you are putting some 3-dimensional things in it. So it is going to get a little fatter, and I didn't want it too fat. So that's why I chose 4 pages. You can do as many pages as you want. Okay, let's go ahead and tape our first 2 pages together. So I'm going to line it up. I don't have anything sticking over, do I? Nope. I want to make sure because I don't want to get it caught in there. And I have several of the Tim Holtz tapes. In fact, I have some from the Wallflower. I'm not seeing, which is fine. I don't have to have the perfect match. This one, these 2 are definitely Wallflower. These are just kind of like office stamp, postal stamp. I don't know. I mix all my tapes up. I tend to put my tapes by sizes, and this is the thickest tape he has in these. So I put them all together so that if I need something that thick, like to tape this book, then they're all together and I can choose from those. So because there's kind of a yellow theme, I am not going to use this pink. I'll use that on one of the other ones. I have kind of a pink themed one, so I'll leave that there and use that. And I think I'm going to go with this one. And what I'm going to do, you want to try to center this, but let me start by putting a little glue down. Remember, my tape is not brand new. Even if it was, I would still glue because in time it does lose its stickiness. So let me put a little glue down to help my tape. And I kind of eyeball it. And then I am going to put the tape on. I try, like I say, I try to line it up with this so I can get kind of an idea. I want it to go halfway, which is about there. Make sure you get the excess glue. And then, here, let's cut this off so it's not kind of... There might be an easier way, and you might know it. Okay, let's make sure I get this going the right way. So I do want it on this side. But let's put a little glue. All right, line him up. You can kind of see through that tape, so I can kind of see the other page, and I want to butt that up with the other. Okay? Rub down hard. Now we are not going to flip these over, okay? Instead, we are going to run another piece of tape on this side. Kind of a reinforcement. Oh, I like that part of the tape. I'm kind of wasting tape, but I want that part of the tape. All right. Let's glue this and put down some tape on the other side. Okay. Line that up with the piece of tape that you had, which should be easy, but I just went off. Okay, there we go. There we go. Ernest Jones. I always like it when I see things that... My maiden name is Jones. So anytime I see a Jones, I go, ah. Sometimes I see things from Nebraska, sometimes, and it's kind of fun. Oh, we kept the Jones on here. All right. Then we are going to fold it. All right. And I kind of run my finger down this side just to make sure you kind of get it creased in the right place. I use my little knot bone folder and get that, and then kind of make a crease. Okay. All right, so I'm going to wait and glue that because I'm going to go ahead and get the next page, which is By the way, I'm keeping this one square. If you look, I rounded the corners on these. So you can round the corners or you can leave them square. This one's a little more rounded. I wanted it a little less rounded. And then this one, I think we're just going to keep square. So it's up to you. If you don't have a corner rounder, leave it this way. All right, so once again, we're not going to glue that yet because I want to be able to have the tape on first. All right, so let's put a little glue down. Well, school started here this week. So that means fall's going to be here soon, right? I'm taking it as a sign. I was in Safeway and I saw all the pumpkin coffees on display. So that means fall's going to be here soon, right? I always wait though, because it never fails. You know, I get all hyped for fall and I get out the sweaters and then we have a heat wave in September. So I try to control myself. All right, so let's go ahead. Oh, I was using this guy. Do I want to change? I don't think I do. But let's go with that part of the tape. Line that up like that. Get that on there. Remove any globs that you might have. Trim that off. I see I made it a little too short, so I'm going to trim the whole thing. Okay. If things falling over here, it sounds like. All right. So let's take her off. I don't want something to happen to her. All right, that needs to be trimmed there. And then we can add the next page. All right. You're going to have to fiddle with them because sometimes, there, you got to make sure they get lined up because sometimes they like to go off until you have it all taped together. For instance, this one really needs to go over. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to worry about that, and I'm going to trim. Because I do want it. I don't know. It's okay. You just got to learn to modify. All right. All right. Now, I'm going to put this tape on. Put some more glue down. This is the fiddly part. But once we get past the fiddly part, then comes the fun part. Isn't that always the way it goes? It's kind of the way it goes in journaling, too. I think sewing signatures in is very fiddly. But once you have all the signatures in, and you have all the pockets in, let's make sure this is going the right way. Because I do want this to go a certain way. Then you get to decorate, and that's, to me, the fun part. All right, I'm going to put the Jones so you can see it. Probably should clean off my scissors. I'm now getting all kinds of sticky stuff on here. All right, I'm going to trimmed up. And then last but not least, where's my back page? Don't want to lose my pockets. All right, this is my back page. Once again, check, make sure you're going the right direction here. So the back page goes like this. And I am going to do the outside first and then tape the inside, just because I think it's going to be easier. And it does get easier as you kind of get more pages put together. All right. Let's put that about halfway. Push it down. You're probably thinking, wow, that's a lot of tape. But you know what? The more tape you have, the more sturdy this thing is. Okay, so I'm going to cut that off. And then I am going to glue I blobbed a little, so let's go over so I don't have that blob oozing out. And then I'm going to fold this over. Okay, trim that off. We'll get the tape on the inside. And there is, once again, doesn't have to be Tim Holtz. Go to Hobby Lobby. The Hobby Lobby has some great washi tape. It's, you know, one of my many weaknesses when I go there and I see, do I have my, I think I've shown you my favorite Hobby Lobby washi tape. I love this. I'll be sad when they run out of it. Okay, so we got those pages together. We got, whoop, I got to reline that up because it didn't get lined up very well. It hasn't dried, so that's fine. Okay, so that's lined up. Now let's put another piece of tape here. I'm oozing. Got to put the lid on. If nothing else, Terry is consistent. Good or bad. All right, so let's put our last piece of tape on. You know, and I'm going to cut, once again, you're probably thinking, man, she's wasting tape. I'll use that for something. But I don't want to have the same little graphics there, so. All right, press down, make sure it's stuck down on that glue. Not going to go anywhere. Okay. Trim this up. All right. And I see one little thing. This has happened before, so I am not, oh my, what am I going to do? The front part is short. Okay. It was probably cut smaller. And then, but, here we go. But I can show you how you can use this to your advantage. All right. So we're going to have to find something, and I think I'm going to wait. Let's go ahead and glue some of this stuff in just to make sure everything else is okay before I do this. All right, so we have it all taped together. See, we've got this page, this page, this page, and then the back. Okay, so let's go through and put our stuff on. And I'm going to start with this pocket. And we are going to glue it like we would any other pocket. Gotta remember to be in shot here instead of, it's a habit to want to kind of bring it back where I can see it better. Okay, so there's that one. Make sure it's stuck down really well. Okay, then we're going to come over here and we are going to use this as a tuck. Hang on, I want to refold this because he's not laying quite where I want it. So let's go over it again. Okay. All right. And I am going to, in case we got some white edge showing, go around this with my ink. And then remember, I'm just going to put a little bit like right there. Like from 12 to 3. That makes sense. I'm using the milk tops. I have been known to use the clock. So you could use the clock. I was looking up, my phone was telling me that I have reached. So then it goes to, it starts filming a second video. So it's telling me I'm over 30 minutes, which apparently is my max, and little do I know I have a max. All right, I'm going to trim that. He's kind of sticking up a little and it's bothering me. Okay. And you want to make sure before you trim things that it isn't crooked, which I did, because I didn't want to trim it and then find out it was more crooked. All right, so then we have a pocket here, and this is what I mean. Here's the tape. If I had put the pocket down and then the tape, it would be taking up pocket room, and I don't want it to. So put the tape down first and then put your pockets in. All right, so let's put this little pocket in. Okay. I like that. I like it when I use the same it just, you know, ties in. It makes it seem a little more seamless. Okay. And let's come over here. This is where we are going to have our little lady. So let's go ahead and we're going to, like I said, make her a side tuck, and we want it to come out this way. So let's get her, I don't know, do I have one going the other way? Because to me that seems like it's wrong. It seems like it's wrong. And make sure when you fold it doesn't interrupt with your picture. Yep, I like her, but she's going the right way. And I'm sorry, I think you need to be going the right way. I know, sometimes Terry's a little too particular for her own good. All right, we're going to put a little down here because, like I say, I want to create that side tuck. So I'm going to line this frame up with the tape. Maybe go over a little, just a little. Kind of line it up. The patterns on here make it easy to line up. So make sure she's kind of centered. Get any of the globs off. Okay, here, let me show you. This isn't one I'm probably going to put here, but see, then we can tuck things in there. Okay. And this one, we were going to do a pocket. Once again, we're gluing it over that tape. Strengthens that, and we have more room in our pocket. All right, it's a little blobby there, so let me take some off. And because I just got glue all over my fingers, I am going to use this to set this down. Okay. I think it needs a little trimming right there. Pull my tape off of here. And then, last but not least, let's make sure this is straight. Where's my, crease that really good again. And put the butterfly on. And I want him to be high, so I want him to kind of be at the top part of the page. And I am going to ink. He's a little white. He's a little white around the edges. All right, so let's glue him down. Lid on. All right, so there's our butterfly on the back. And it does need some trimming. But let's make sure we are not going to trim off anything important. Okay. So I'm going to trim that edge, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to fix. Wow, I made a real mess over here. hands a little unsticky. I don't want to be sticking to everything. All right, so I am actually, to make life easier, and I've got my Tim Holtz scissors because they're a little tougher than my everyday scissors. So, okay, so we're all even. I'm going to put a little. All right, and then we got to fix the front. And I am going to do that. You can do that two ways. You can either put on the tabs so that it kind of sticks out. One of these wider tabs, see, would kind of take away from the fact that that was short. In fact, probably not going to be able to find those. I have my whale's tails, but I don't think I have the other tabs handy. Yeah, and the more I think about it, the more I think that's what I want to do. So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it, and we'll show you that the next time. I think I'm going to put a wider tab. I thought about putting a pocket, which you could do. But I think I'm going to do the wider tab up here. Yeah, I like that idea. All right, so we're going to do that. So the next time we get together, we're going to go ahead and I'll get these all done off camera. And then we will decorate these. We'll show you some things to decorate. I'm excited because I got my new palette snippets. I love these. I mean, the palette set is so great. But now I have the palette snippets. And won't those be great in our little books? But once again, you don't have to use Tim Holtz. There is ephemera everywhere. Go on Etsy, find a great Etsy shop, and I'll bet you can find some ephemera, maybe even tiny ephemera, or ephemera that you can reduce down in size. If you know anything about computers and you know how to mess with computer programs, then you could take ephemera that you have and shrink it down so that you have these small pieces of ephemera. So I hope you are working on these and that is kind of understandable. I didn't confuse you too much. But there's our 4 pages and we are ready to decorate. I don't know that we're going to get them all decorated next week. We're going to try, but this to me is one of those projects that I constantly fiddle with, constantly add to. There are so many fun things you can do with books like this. Like I said, I'm not a huge journaler, so I like books like this that you can just look through and have fun looking through them. All right, so I'll do these off camera and then I will share those with you next time. And until we meet again, I just want to thank each and every one of you that has subscribed to the YouTube channel. I can't believe it. We've got over 1,000. And I suppose that means I should have a giveaway. So maybe when we finish some of these, I will give something, maybe one of these, away. So stay tuned. Bring your friends, subscribe, click the bell for notifications so you know when the next video has come out. And until then, let's get crafty.